What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to His and Herbs. So in today's video, what I'm going to show you is how we're planning to amend the soil that we use in the spring and get it ready for the fall. There's no need to go out and buy fresh new soil for every grow season. This stuff can become quite pricey. These bags ain't cheap, right? You're looking at $6, $7, $8 a bag on the low end, and then you're looking at 12, 15, 20 bucks on the high end. So you can't be doing that every time you turn around, every time there's a grow season. You can't do that, especially when you have fresh, healthy soil already ready at your disposal in the spring garden. In the springtime, all that watering, all that fertilizing and composting and manuring that you've done already, that stuff is still in that soil. All the plants didn't suck it all up, and it didn't all leach out the soil and water. There's still some good nutrition in there, so we want to take advantage of that. All right, so the basis of our soil is definitely built off of our own mixture, our own combination of things, which I'm going to put a link in the description box, and I'm going to try to put something on the screen, link to the video on how to make your own soil. Right, and all we're going to do is just refresh this soil, bring some life back into it, revitalize it. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we collect any containers that have vegetables or crops growing in them that are no longer growing. Right, so like this planter here, it had a pepper growing in it. So all I did was go through. I went in, I ripped the pepper plant out. Got rid of any of the roots that may have been left in the soil. Then we dump it into this pool, and from there we go to pull out any kind of pieces of debris that we may not want, rocks. We get to find grubs if there are any grubs. Grubs don't typically get in the containers, but because we do use the compost manure, there may be big chunks of manure that's left in there like that. We want to get rid of, because it just takes them a little bit longer to break down and stuff like that. Same here with it's a larger root system ball. Get rid of that. Not too concerned about the root systems though, because they will break down over time and just become nutrients for your plants. So I'm not too worried about getting all the root systems out. I just want to get the bigger balls of the root system out, because things like tomatoes, if you leave seeds in there or some roots, they will actually bounce back. Some of the weeds as well. So we get rid of rocks, sticks, all that stuff, just like what I'm doing here. Right? So this is how we typically start. We get rid of the plant, we dump it into the pool, we sift through it, get rid of anything that we don't want, and then we move on. Right? Because we can't afford, like I said, we can't afford to be buying soil every grow season, because that stuff can become quite expensive. So this is a very fast and easy way, and an inexpensive way, to just give your plants what they need. The first thing we're going to start off with is some of these worm castings, right? Worm castings are a quicker source of nitrogen for the plants, because we're talking about fall crops right now, right? Which means we're going to be growing a lot of leafy vegetables, like the cabbages, the lettuces, the kale, stuff like that. That stuff loves nitrogen. So we're going to give that some worm castings. We're going to throw that in there. That's going to be readily available, but we got to understand that worm castings are they're not on the high end of the nitrogen scale. It's only 1.25 in the nitrogen, in terms of nitrogen. It's 1.25% and 0.0 for NPK, right? So we're going to throw that in. Next, we're going to throw in some more fertilizers. So we're going to start off with this tomato and vegetable garden fertilizer. We're going to throw this in here as well. This is some granular fertilizer, and I'm putting this in because this fertilizer should last it basically through the rest of the fall season. All right, I ran out of that stuff. Didn't have a lot in there in the first place, but just basically emptied that bag into this bed. I'm also not too worried about over fertilizing, because it's kind of difficult to over fertilize. But one drawback, this tomato and garden fertilizer did have an NPK of 12, 10, and 5, right? 12, 10, and 5. So like I said, I'm not too worried about over fertilizing, because it's kind of difficult to over fertilize some plants. However, However, one thing that you do have to watch out for are aphids. I'm going to do a completely separate video on that to talk about my experience with aphids and nitrogen. But so be on the lookout for that. Like I was saying, the fertilizer, the granular fertilizer. I think that the granular fertilizers that we were using, that I'm showing you right now, that should feed it for about a month and a half to 2 months, maybe 3 months. Now I'm gonna throw in some citrus fertilizer, which has an NPK of 646. Okay. Now there's no particular reason why I'm using the citrus and the tomato fertilizer. It's just I ran out of one, and I'm supplementing it with the citrus fertilizer, right, which has a different NP and K. All right, this is really simple. The thing about it is, guys, in all honesty, like in the grand scheme of things, that's it, right? If you want to go through and add some vermiculite or add some perlite, you can do that. I've added this. I just showed you the bag of the composted manure that's already been added to it, and I'm gonna add some more to it, make another batch. But that's really it, y'all. Like, it's not a lot to revitalizing your soil. It's really simple. And like I said, it becomes more of an art than it is science. Because you'll know your science. In science, it gives you a little bit of leniency in terms of what you can add. But then the artistic part is how much do you want to add? Because maybe you want to add a little bit more fertilizer of a type of fertilizer if you're growing a certain type of plant, or if you're making this for trees and you need to be really heavy on the fertilizers so that the trees can feed really well, right? Or maybe watermelons, right? Even though those are spring crops, you guys get the point. But this this pool of fertilizer right here, this is going to be enough for me to fill up, maybe 2 containers, 2.5 to 3 containers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill up this container about 3/4 of the way. So I like what I've learned from my past couple of years of growing is that I don't like all the fertilizers to be in one place. I like it to be throughout the soil, but mostly at the top. I like it to be more heavily fertilized at the top. So I'm gonna fill this up about 3/4 of the way. I'm gonna fertilize it some more, and then I'm gonna fill it up the rest of the way. And what that does, the reason why I like to have my fertilizers heavier at the top is because as we water, the fertilizers are gonna get the nutrients are gonna get pushed down into the soil. It's gonna go where the water goes, right? So the more you water, the more the fertilizers are going to get pushed down and deeper into the soil, causing the roots to chase the water and the fertilizers, and then eventually it's going to all just come out, right? It's going to run out the bottom. Okay. I feel like if I put the fertilizers closer to the top of the soil, it gives it more time for the plants to get that nutrition before the fertilizers are pushed out of the soil, right? But like I said, I like to generally have it throughout the soil, but I'd like to do a little bit more heavy fertilizing at the top of the soil, give it time to get pushed throughout all the soil. So here I'm just adding a little bit more worm castings. Somebody just went by with a loud car. These kids with these loud cars, man. But we're gonna add some more worm castings on top, just like you saw. When I dig the hole to actually plant the vegetable, I'm gonna throw some more in the soil. Like I said, I'm not really worried about over fertilizing at this point. Okay, because like I said, these worm castings are really low in nitrogen. But this pool of soil, I've already basically filled up one container, and now I'm going to grab another container and fill it up. So this is the 22-inch container. So we have what, maybe it's not a 3-gallon container. That's more like maybe a 4, close to a 5-gallon container. The green one, and then this red one is a 22-inch. And this soil is going to be enough for me to almost fill up both of those. Now imagine if I had to go buy that soil. Now I'm looking at 2 or 3 bags, if not more. And let's say on the low end at $7 a piece, because you know inflation, everything's going up right now, right? So the bags that used to be $6 are now $7, $8. So you're looking at, like $21 worth of soil on the low end. You can't do that every time you want to start a project. All right, guys, that's all that we have for today. That's how we revitalize our soil from the spring to get it ready for the fall garden. So if you learned something in today's video, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, and share this video with someone that may need this information. We're trying to put out as much helpful information as we can, especially for the new or the beginner gardener. So, like I said, I appreciate you sticking around and watching this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all take care. Love y'all.